Hello everyone, welcome to the Salesforce internship program. Today we are at 21st episode actually. On 21st episode, let's see what all requirement that we have received from my customer. So my customer would like to create an agreement directly from the code rather than going from the agreement tab record actually. So this is my first requirement. In this requirement, we are going to create a record create action button on the code for the new agreement. So let's move to the setup. As you see on a code, I do not have the new agreement button here. So I would like to, once my code is created, I would like to create my agreement directly from the new agreement button from the lightning action record page. So let's go back to the setup. Click on object manager, click on a code, search for the code. I am at a code, click on button and links, click on new action button, search for create record, target object call agreement, type a name called new agreement and hit save button. The one very much important part is called we need to have a customer has to be auto populated, and we can also put a agreement date, we can also put a customer address, the customer sign date and the application request and hit save button. Let's do the mapping. As we need to populate the application request number, which should come from our code record, right? So code has application request, just insert this one, do the mapping and hit save button. Let's do the another mapping. For auto default purpose, select a customer, show formula, code, and then we need account and hit save button. Right, so my customer is mapped, my application request is mapped. Let's map a quote also on agreement, because on my agreement I have a quote also. So we have a quote, so formula, insert field, then we have a quote, record ID, insert and hit save button, and so on. You can just start mapping the other field called customer address or any other field you would like to map. Let's add this button to the quote layout page. You need to just click on override and predefined action button, just search for the mobile action button, drag and drop this new agreement button that you have created and then hit save button. So let's go back and try it here. Just refresh this tab and see the new agreement button is available. The moment you hit, you will see my application request, the customer and the code number is auto defaulted. I can go ahead and put my agreement date and the term and conditions. Let's suppose if I would like to put any term and conditions, okay, so I can just put any dummy pet should be vaccinated on time and blah 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 and let hit save button. So users would not be allowed to create a new agreement until we have a customer acceptance date actually. So as you see, we have previously created a validation in place, so we need to put a customer acceptance date. Let's suppose customer has already agreed to the price, okay, and we are going to change call quote accepted by customer and hit save button. Then I should be able to create our agreement. So term and condition, line 1, line 2, whatever the line we have, and then hit save button. So we have successfully created a one agreement now for the particular code. So this is how we would like to achieve to create a new agreement from the new agreement button onto the code record page actually. In my second episode, in my second step, In this particular 21st episode, I have another requirement from customer saying that if the code agreement, which is the agreement that we have already shared to the customer, right? So in this scenario, the agreement is being sent to the customers and customer is ready to sign, or customer has given us a sign agreement actually, right? So in this scenario, what we have to do, uh, let's suppose what customer is looking for, we have already, my customer is already agreed, right? And customer has already signed it. So once the customer signed is accepted, right? So let's suppose if I'm marking that okay, agreement is signed, now we are ready to adopt. Once this is marked as ready to adopt, what my requirement here is, my quote, the quote line item we have, in this quote line item we have a pet called Bruno. Bruno should be, status should be changed to what you call adopted, right? Because I have already adopted, given an option to my customer actually. So this is my first requirement where I need to change from agreement, go back to the code, select the particular code line item, then update the pet status from available to adopted, right? So let's see how we can achieve. And also we need to change the status call, code status call agreement sent by customer actually, agreement signed by customer. So this is the two objective that we had to perform, that we can perform with help of flow, right? So what we have to do, we'll have to create a flow on agreement actually, right? So let's see how we can achieve. So first what we need to do, we are going to search for, from home, click on flow. We are going to click on a new flow. This flow we are going to create from scratch. We are going to use called record trigger flow, because record trigger flow is will only run once the record is created or updated. So we are going to perform a update here, right? And on update we are going to change the quote line item status and the quote status. Okay, what is our condition, on which object we are going to run? Call agreement object, right? So my selection will be agreement. A record is updated, not on creation. And then just go back to our hit save button called agreement flow, and then hit save button. Now in this scenario, what we ask, what we are saying, we need to check a condition, right? So we are going to check a decision called agreement signed, right? Agreement signed check, and this called signed, and this one is called not signed. And if it is signed, what all action we have to perform? In this sign, what all condition that we have to check? We are going to check called my current record my triggering record called trigger agreement dot call agreement signed, agreement customer signed date, right? If this customer signed date is null, equal to false, if it is false, right, then we need to take a decision here, right? So after this decision, what we action we have to perform? So if it is signed or if it is not signed, signed means customer has signed. Now after signed, we have to update. What we have to update? We have to update the quote status. So update quote record. In this update quote record, we are going to choose a record collections or specify conditions. We are going to update what? The quote. So for first we are going to update the quote. Quote basis of what? So first we have to search for the ID, and which is coming from our triggering ID. Triggering ID means we are going to check for my agreement, then my code, and then from the code we are checking for ID. Actually, I'm going to fetch my particular code which is related to my current agreement record, which has a code and which has a ID actually. So we are going to fetch the particular code, and then we are going to change the status field. Status field for what? Status field of code is agreement is signed by customer, and then hit save button. Correct. Also, the second step what we have to do, we have to also update the code line item. So we have updated the code, we are going to update the code line item pet record. So for this we have to again update records. What we have to update? Update pet status, and this pet status will come from where? The code line item. So we are going to update the this one called pet. So we are going to search for pet from pet record based on the ID field. So we have a ID which will come from our agreement record, then we have a code, and from the code, let's see, I think from the code we cannot have, because it's a multiple line item could be, right? So we cannot use this logic here. So I'm going to delete this logic for now. Let me activate this one, then I will put another setup logic, right? So what we have done so far, we are just checking my customer agreement is signed, and then I am updating my quote status called agreement is signed by my customer, right? So let's validate our logic here. So my quote is status is called status is still new, and my quote status is still quote accepted by customer. That's it. And for this code 001, I have my what do you call a code associated with this agreement. I'm going to update my customer sign date to some other date. Let's suppose 25th or something, whatever, or 4th of customer sign date, and hit save button. And then if I go and check my quote status, here you see the agreement signed by my customer, right? Because on a particular agreement which I see, my agreement which is associated with this code, and the customer sign date is not blank, that is why my quote status is marked as agreement signed by customer, right? So this is what we would like to achieve, because all my status are completed here, right? And the adoption process done. The only one part is pending, called this Bruno should be marked as unavailable, right? So in order to do so, what we have to do, go back to my flow, the flow that we have created. Let's update, let's fetch all the pet line item first, right? So we are going to call get records. In this get records, call get all code pets. Let's fetch all the pets, right? All the pets from where? I'm going to fetch all the pets from the code, associated code. So I'm going to first you can also do in a way called, okay, let's see if I can query, but it won't show me the line item, right? No. So first we have to fetch all the quote line item records, right? So let's search for the line item first, the quote line item. we are going to fetch for all quote line item. The quote line item where my quote is equal to my agreement quote. So if my quote is my agreement, if my agreement quote is matched, so my matching, if I am on my agreement record, so my agreement, I am going to the my quote ID. This is my quote ID. If matching to my quote, because on my quote line item we have a quote field, right? So give me all the quote line item for those quotes where it matches to the agreement quote actually. So this is way we can fetch all the quote line item. Get quote line items, right? And then hit, we are not going to use a first record, but we are going to use a all records and storing all the fields, and hit save as, save, right? So this is what we have fetched for all quote line item, and from this quote line item we need to read all the pets here. So we are going to use call for here, call loop here, right? I'm going to use call loop. I need to loop all quote line, and the collection variable called odd line item. From the first to last I need to do, right? I need to iterate one by one. So for each I need to perform some activity, right? So what activity we have to perform? We need to do the assignment here, right? What assignment we have to do? We are going to put a one assignment called pet update assignment, right? Pet update assignment. What pet update assignment? We need to create a one new variable called new resource called pet here. So we have been using pet, we are saying that obj pet, and then click on record. We are going to use call. This time I am going to use only one for now. We'll create another variable to store all the pet actually in one go. So we are going to read all the line item pet one by one, and then store into a temporary variable called obj pet, right? So this is what called pet, and then hit save button. In this pet, the first obj pet, we need to set id here, right? And this id will come from where? The first loop element. So this is my current loop. In this loop we need to use this pet record id, this one. And for this obj pet we need to update the status also. Call adoption status equals available to adopted. This is what we have to do, correct? So now the variable assignment is done for this obj pet. After this, the final assignment what we have to do, we'll have to create a collection variable called list of all the pets into one, and then we are going to use a variable again, API call collection of all pets, right? And then use a record call allow multiple, allow all label and inputs. It's called pets, and it's done. In this call we are going to add here with the obj pet. So we are adding, first we are creating a temporary variable while reading to the loop 1, loop 2, loop 3 means we have fetched all the line item, code line item. From this one line item, it will read the first and then second, then third and fourth and so on. From the first, we are going to read the first current loop, give me the ID, set the record ID for the obj object pet, and then set the adoption status and add this collect value or array, one record of pet to the collection variable called array variable. Once you are done, hit save button, and at the last what you have to do, after last you will have to perform the update command. Update records. Which records? Update collection. What collections? Update collection of pets. So we have called collection of, we are going to update the collection of pets. This is the collections, right? And then hit save button. Let's make it activated here. Now I think we are good for now. Let's do the testing. So what I found here is we have already our pet is available, our status is changed, right? Let's do again. Let me go back and to my code. I am going to roll back to the code is accepted by my customer and hit save button. My agreement is already there. So let me change my customer sign date to, let's suppose 5th this time. If I am changing my date to the 5th, my associated code status becomes agreement signed by customer. And if I go to my related code line item, Bruno record, the Bruno should be now status changed to adopted. You see the flow, power of flow, right? Because it was available. If I am going to add a new record for this particular second code, I should not be allowed to add this Bruno because Bruno is already adopted. So if I go and select a Bruno now and then hit save button, you see the pet status is not available, right? So this is what the logic that we had to apply for so that every time our inventory has to be changed. So my inventory got changed, right? For Bruno earlier was available, now it is adopted the status, right? So my inventory got changed, the agreement is being signed. This is what we have to achieve, correct? So thank you so much. Thanks once again for joining this webinar and seminar and this internship program. I really appreciate for your timing and effort, and I really appreciate that you joined my internship program. I am totally I think you guys are enjoying my sessions, and please feel free to send me your feedback about this Salesforce internship program also. Thank you once again.